All right, well, welcome to Talking Fight, and welcome to Knuckle Up, a show that Mike has launched with us. Joining us tonight, Laura down at St. Catherine's, right?
Yes.
From the Underdogs Boxing Club,
Yep.
A not-for-profit organization that you yourself launched.
Me and a team of people, but if you ask them, they'll say it was me.
Awesome.
Just to get the story straight, did you launch it before getting involved in boxing on a personal level, or because you were involved in boxing and decided this was going to be good for the community? And
yes, the latter. So I've been involved in boxing since 2010, and then just in 2017 launched Underdogs Boxing Club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Pandemic aside, it's going pretty well. We're entirely volunteer run. It's a small nonprofit. So, it's a constant grind to sort of, make sure that the membership is enough that we can pay our rent and that sort of thing. But we're 3 years in and have survived. We survived a 5-month lockdown. And all signs are pointing to us surviving this one as well. So that's good.
That's awesome, actually. That's really cool. I was reading a bit about the place. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? Can you elaborate on the whole, I guess, aspect of the gym and why you guys started it?
Yeah. So I started boxing about 10 years ago, and even before I've only had 2 fights, but even before I started training to actually fight, people were saying to me, I really want to learn how to box, but I don't want to get hit. I mean, let's be honest, it's the least fun part of boxing. Getting hit hard. So, I was hearing that a lot. And then when I was training for my first fight, which was in 2014, my experience in sort of the traditional boxing club, which, as you both know, is male dominated. It was not uncommon for me to be the only woman in the boxing club. I think men just have a different way of sort of training and approaching the training, and hitting people is fine. And, right, women are not raised to think that hitting is fine. So I was really struggling with that, and the coaches were having a hard time sort of, I guess, connecting with me in a way that made me feel like, okay, this is the thing we do, right? They also initially had me sparring with children. I'm a small person. I'm only 5'3". So they had sparring with kids. I could not bring myself to hit that little baby face in the and the coaches would say, oh, but he could smoke you in a fight. And I go, no, this isn't about skill. I have no doubt that this kid could just murder me in a fight. I can't hit that little baby face in the headgear kind of thing. So then they had me sparring with guys who were twice my weight, which is, there's a reason there's weight classes in boxing.
Definitely.
Right. So I reached out to Kathy Van Ingen, who's a professor at Brock University, because she had gotten into boxing sort of late in life as well. And just to sort of talk to her and say, how do you do this? How do you sort of overcome that huge barrier of that hitting people is fine? Long conversation with her. During the conversation with her, she told me about a program that she and 2 other people had launched in Toronto called Shape Your Life, which is a recreational boxing program for women identified survivors of violence.
Okay.
Immediately after that conversation with her, I knew we had to bring the program to Niagara. And so there was, trying to find a club that sort of understood why the program was important, why it needed to exist, but also why there couldn't be any men in the club while the program was running, was a difficult thing to do. So then I got the idea that maybe it was time to open a boxing club so that this program could have a home. I would not have opened a boxing club just to have another boxing club in Niagara. This was really the sole purpose, was to give the Shape Your Life program a home in Niagara. And then again, going on how frequently I'd heard, I want to learn how to box, but I don't want to get hit. I thought, you know what, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something here that we can have enough membership that it pays for the Shape Your Life program, because that program is free for participants. And so here we are. That's what we're doing.
So 3 years later, and it's been pretty successful so far, right? So
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'm glad you guys have survived this pandemic, and honestly, I'm hope the best for you in the future. What made you decide to get into boxing 10 years ago?
I was dared to do it.
You were dared to do it. Is this that exhibition match against your friend that you were having?
Isn't that how everybody gets into a combat sport? You're dared to.
No, not necessarily. Me, I just got into it for the sake of getting into it. I guess I like being hit in the face. I don't know.
Well, and it's funny because when I got into it initially, so I was dared by someone else in the community. What had happened was, so I'm also a politician. And after the 2010 election, in which I was not successful, I was using Twitter just as a way to, I don't know, just put stuff out there on social media. And I was occasionally talking about my workouts, which at the time were kettlebell workouts.
Kettlebell is an amazing workout.
Yeah. And there was we'll call him a non-believer in the community who thought, kettlebells, meh, right? And so I said to him, well, give it a try. Come in and give it a try sometime. And that turned into, I'll try your workout if you try mine.
Oh, wow.
And he sent me a video, which was terrifying. He sent me a video of him sparring with Terrence Fowler at Fight Fit. And so we had been having this rapid fire Twitter conversation. And then he sent me that video and I went silent. Because I'm sitting watching this video going, but I don't want to get hit. Like, who wants to do that? Seemingly, he very quickly realized his mistake, sent me another video and said, you're not going to get hit. Tweeted another video at me and said, you're not going to get hit. And I said, okay, if I'm not going to get hit, I'm in. I'll hit things. I don't want to get hit. And I mean, I grew up probably, thinking or having been told boxing is barbaric, who gets into these things, all that sort of stuff. And so I went in as a non-believer myself as far as the boxing went, and couple of workouts with Terrence and I was hooked. Just fell in love with the sport. Didn't ever think I'd fight, but fell in love with the sport. Fast forward a couple of years, I lost my sister quite suddenly, and fighting became something that I sort of needed to do to work through.
An outlet for you to kind of like, all the personal stuff you're going through.
Exactly.
Which I find, honestly, any combative sport out there really is amazing for that. Whether it's adults or children, there's a need for it. There's a need for you to be able to expel all that pent up anger or rage or sadness or whatever you have going.
And I think that's what made me understand as well, the Shape Your Life program and the value in that program, right? It wasn't just getting through the grief of losing my sister, but I realized that boxing had been helping me, deal with other sort of emotional and physical traumas that I had experienced in my life, right? Because it's an outlet. You can take it out on the heavy bag, or in the case of Fight Fit, take it out on Terrence wearing the body pad and the hand pads and that sort of thing. And you can just leave it all there. It is not uncommon at Underdogs, and I know it's happened with Terrence as well. I'm sure it's happened in boxing clubs everywhere. It's not uncommon for someone to be crying while they're hitting the heavy bag, right? Something has happened, and it's just that emotional release. And in the case of Underdogs, it's a perfectly safe space for them to do that. Nobody's going to start grilling them about, what's wrong or any of that sort of stuff. We sort of give a nod, check in, make sure that,
you're okay, yeah.
Okay, but we don't make a show of someone having an emotional response to what they're doing.
Oh, that's good. So a total comfortable space for anybody to just hang out and throw some punches. That's always good.
Well, and I think too, I mean, the boxing clubs that I was in, at least the first one, so not Fight Fit, because Fight Fit is, I mean, he's a boxing studio, but he's not a boxing club, right? He trains people one-on-one. He doesn't train fighters. It's all for fitness. Although he actually gave me some of the best advice going into my first fight. But the boxing clubs that I experienced here, I mean, in one, I felt sort of actively unwelcome. They weren't super keen on having this woman in a boxing club who they probably didn't feel was very serious. I mean, I'm now in my mid 40s, so at the time, I was in the time I was training, I would have been late-ish 30s. What are you doing in a boxing club, lady? Like,
right, right. No, I know exactly what you mean. I've been in gyms like that too that are very, I guess, well, see, a lot of them are families, right? They're this tight knit family. They, some of them train 5, 6, 7 days a week together, 3 to 5 hours a day, and then, they get somebody in that just comes in off the street who's, hasn't been there for 20 years or 10 years like they have, right? No, I know that whole, which it's sad, it's sad, because you know what, you should open up your arms to everybody that comes in that gym door anyway, because not only is it helping pay your bills, but it's building confidence for these people. And it's awesome that you guys have built a gym where there is nothing to worry about. You just walk in that door and you just do your thing, and whatever happens. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do.
So training for your first fight, how was that? How did you to go from just working out and getting hooked to being like, you know what, I'm going to step in the ring and take a couple punches?
Yeah, so it was a charity fight. It was the second annual Pearl Gloves charity fight, which was founded by Grant LaFleche from the Standard, Joe Corrigan from St. Catharines Boxing Club, and Jennifer Roberge, who at the time was with the MS Society. So it was a fundraiser for MS. And I just asked them if I could be on the fight card, and they said yes. They had someone who was running for election willing to take some punches. Like, who would say no to that?
I guess you sold it very well. You sold that pretty well. Awesome.
Because at that time, I was not successful in the 2010 election. I don't know how relevant this is, but but I came third. On New Year's Eve of like 2013, 2014, one of the gentlemen who did win, he resigned, which meant I ended up getting appointed to city council in St. Catharines for that calendar year of 2014. So they had the founders of this of Pearl Gloves had a politician who was to get in the ring and take punches.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
So they said yes. And then, I take things, maybe I'm a little bit competitive. And I took this quite seriously. I thought, if I'm going to get in the ring and take punches in the face, like, I need to know what I'm doing. I need to make sure I am as fit as I can possibly be. So I trained basically every single day in some capacity or another. The worst part of the whole experience, frankly, was, so I weighed 140 pounds at the time. I had to get down to under 132 because my opponent was 125.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's...
And I had, other people who were training the fight would look at me and go, you don't have 8 pounds to lose. Like, what are you going to do? Don't worry, I'll do it. So 5 weeks out from the fight, realized I was at 140, had to drop 8 pounds. And I thought, I can't do this by sitting in a sauna or like any of the like just things that I saw as being just torture.
Oh, it is torture.
Yeah.
It is torture.
So for those last 5 weeks, I very sadly, this was the saddest 5 weeks of my life, cut out bread and pasta and stuff. Like, it was a miserable 5 weeks. And then I was getting up at 4:00 in the morning to go to like my sort of traditional gym to spin for an hour and a half, right? Before I'd go to work for the day and then go to the boxing club and train for, an hour and a half or whatever. Really interestingly, during the training process, so I have also had 5 surgeries on my left knee. So I'm not really good at moving, right?
Right.
I don't trust that left leg a lot. But the coaches who were training me basically trained me and said, well, if you don't want to get hit, move. Okay, that's fair. They hadn't. So I'm doing hand pads with one of the guys a couple of weeks before the fight, and he swats me in the head, and I was mad at him. I was so mad at him. We had just had a little bit of a heated conversation, and so I thought he smacked me in the head because he was still a little heated. And so I was mad at him, and he goes, "Well, no, you're supposed to block the punch." And I said, "Nobody's taught me how to block punches." Like,
Wow.
yeah. And of course, you go into fight or into training for a fight, which is something you've never done before. They're teaching you new things, but you don't know what they're not teaching you if you don't know what's supposed to happen. So I said to him, I said, "Nobody's taught me how to block punches." And he was like, "Wait a minute. You're getting in the ring in a couple of weeks and no has taught you how to block punches?" Nope.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard a number of boxers, you don't want to get hit, but I can punches to the head all day long. It's the body shots. You don't.
Oh, yeah, no. Those are the ones that hurt the next day, the next couple of days.
Yeah.
You don't really know until you know that your ribs are bruised, or you got bruised kidneys, or something like that. Those are the pains that nobody really realizes. The face heat is quick.
But yeah, I was more concerned. Get out of the way. Don't let them hit you in the body. So that was it was an interesting experience. I was initially sparring children, and then I was sparring guys who were twice my weight, who maybe didn't know how to pull their punches. Also, the grossest thing that happens in a boxing club: community gloves.
Oh, that's the nastiest thing ever.
And you
There's
know
nothing like putting your hand in that nasty, wet, sweatied up glove that's been on 4 other people's hands all day long.
You know what's worse than that? Getting hit with that glove.
Oh.
You're like, "Oh, why is my face wet?" And
Yeah.
then you realize why your face is wet. It's awful.
The gloves go from 16 ounce to 24, and it's all sweat on the inside.
So that was the other thing with Underdogs. I was like, "Oh, we can't now with COVID and everything." But prior to COVID, we had community gloves, but they hung up after being used, right? Like they were not. We didn't Velcro them closed and throw them in a bin.
Right.
They hung up so they could dry out in between, because community gloves are the most disgusting thing. There's more disgusting things that happen in a boxing club, as you know, but like as far as
definitely
front of the mill disgusting, that was it. But anyway, so I was training to fight a woman who had fought before, and that was the part that actually worried me. Was she had at least had the experience of getting in the ring and dealing with the nerves of getting in the ring. And I thought, oh, never mind how strong she is, how experienced she, like, never mind any of that. She just has the experience of having gotten in the ring before and having the crowd yelling and all that kind of stuff, right?
You know what I found that ring nervousness tends to go away after a couple punches in the face, because then you're more worried about getting punched in the face than you are being in the ring.
And the wildest thing is, I didn't hear, like, when you're fighting, except for at one point they started chanting my name, which was wild. But other than that, for the whole fight, we were actually, Bree and I were the longest fight of the night. We were the only fight that had 1.5-minute rounds. Everybody else had 1-minute rounds. We also like demanded to be on the second half of the card. They were going to put us like first, and she and I were like, "We have trained harder than anybody else. Like, you're not putting us at the beginning and everybody forgets about us." So at one point they were chanting my name, but other than that, for that whole fight, I didn't hear anything. Like, no. You don't hear the crowd. The only other thing I heard, which was helpful actually, I didn't hear my coaches yelling at me from my corner, but I heard her coaches yelling at her. Right? Which was great, because they're like, "Oh, right, move to the right, move to the left." I'm like, "All right, here I go." And there was apparently one punch I threw. So I love the left hook to the body. Love it.
I'm a big fan of the left hook.
Yeah, and I loved it even more. I also trained under Billy Irwin, and my second fight was at his club. But apparently there was at one point where I threw a left hook to her body. My coaches, who were in the far opposite corner at that point, and her coaches heard it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and they told me after, we were like, "Oh my God, this is not going to be good." And you can see on the video, if you know what happened, you see it. But there's a point in the video where she kind of pulls her arm up her side like this, and it looks like maybe she was losing the shorts or whatever, and she's just like trying to grab the waistband with her arm. But if you know what I just did, you realize that she's like, oh, that was.
Yeah. That's where she's gonna hurt tomorrow, then the day after, then the day after.
Yeah.
Those body shots are nasty.
Yeah, but I mean to first. So an exhibition, no winner is declared in an exhibition, as you both know.
Right.
If a winner had been declared, Bree would have won the fight, no question. She's faster. It was a weird matchup because she's way faster than I am, but I'm more powerful than she is.
Right.
So I took so many punches to the face. Like after the fight, the doctor sort of checked my nose, all this stuff, and he was like, I can't believe you're fine. Because I took so many punches to the face. I was actually getting annoyed. I was like, come on.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
But as you know, a super fast puncher doesn't tend to be as powerful, right? Like you don't usually have both power and speed, right?
Yeah, you're either speed and technique, or you're just solid power.
Yeah.
It's good though when you're like really big and then you drop really small, because then you get the speed plus the power.
Right. Yeah.
That could always be good.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you trained a little longer, you might have got your speed up, and then you would have whooped her butt.
Yeah. But no, my goal with her really was I need to go into the ring, give her a run for her money, and walk out of the ring. Right? Like they weren't going to be calling winners anyway, so I wasn't super concerned about that. It was like, go in, put on a good show, make it so that it's not clearly just like she killed me, right? And go about my day. And so, there were people after the fight who said we were the best fight of the night. All that. I do think that the women, I think generally speaking, the women train harder than the men.
Honestly, yes, I believe so as well. We've had a lot of women guests on our shows. We're pro women boxing, man. We're all for it. I think it's become finally, recognized as an Olympic sport only in 2012.
Yeah.
And it's sad that it took that long to happen. But women today, they're training their butts off, man. Like some of them are more exciting to watch than the men today.
Yeah. Well, and I think for us, it was, the women were training harder because I think generally people were like, meh, women's fights. So we were like, hey, we're gonna show them that no, you should take this seriously.
Yeah, and you see that with some of these women. Like some of these women are knockout artists. Their knockout percentage is up there in the 60%. And if you're a 60% knockout artist, you're an amazing athlete and a great boxer. And it's nice to see that some of these women are doing this stuff and they're training. And I think in the next 10 years we're gonna see a lot of change in the women boxing world. And I hope I'm able to be part of that too. And this show hopefully does it for them. And gives them a platform to talk.
Yeah.
Your story is amazing though. Like it's a great story. I love everything that you've done with the gym. Once this whole pandemic's over, I definitely like to come out and check out your facility and see what it looks like.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. So do you still have the itch to get back in the ring and maybe another exhibition match?
I don't know. So I got back in the ring in 2016. Billy Irwin, so Irwin's Boxing Club, which sadly no longer exists. Billy Irwin is, in my opinion, as far as coaches in Niagara go, if you're going to learn from somebody, Billy's the guy.
Yeah, he's the go-to.
Like I learned more in 3 rounds of hand pads with Billy the very first time I went to his club. I learned more with him than I had the entire year at the club that I was with before him.
Oh, so he started showing you the angle play.
Yeah, right. like changing up the combinations, not throwing the same combination every single time, and that sort of thing. So fought for him in 2016, and at the time, so I fought the second time because I wanted to fight at a weight that I felt strong at. So for the 2014 fight, I squeaked under at 131.8. I had to be 132 or lower. Yeah. Weighed in at 131.8. I was mad that day too because I hadn't eaten anything all day. And then they were like, "Oh, we have to wait for women to come and weigh you guys." And we were like, "We don't care." Like,
and all you want to do is have a sandwich. You're like,
"Oh." Yeah, I was like, I had food in my hands. I was like, I haven't eaten all day. I can't eat until you weigh me.
Yeah, it's like, here, hold this. I got to get on the scale. Give me a second. Yeah.
So, but dropping down to that 131 and change, or 132, that's not a weight that I'm strong at. Like the photos of me from that fight, there certainly were people who were like, "Oh my God, you looked amazing. Look at your arms." And I look at those photos and go, "Ooh, I was skinny." Like,
Yeah.
right? Like it wasn't a healthy. It wasn't a healthy weight. My physician actually was angry with me that I was going to try to drop down to that weight. Said to him, I said, one time and that's it. Like, I'm never doing it again. So fought the second time because I wanted to fight at a weight that I felt strong at, which is about the 140 mark. And at the time, thought, well, maybe I'll fight one more time so that my kids can see me fight.
Very cool.
Right. At that point, I thought, I don't know, like they know it's a sport. They hear me talk about the training. They've been in the club when I've been doing just regular training. They've never seen me spar though. And I don't know if it's, super healthy for them to see their mom get punched.
Very, very conscious decision.
Yeah, right. But anyway, 1 week before the fight, we were in the boxing club. The three of us were there. We were in the boxing club and a woman walked in and Billy said to me, he's like, your last chance to spar before your fight. Do you want to spar one more time before your fight? Okay, sure. Oh, but darn, the kids are here. Meh, it'll be fine. I hyperextended my elbow during that. Yeah. During that sparring session. So, and you do that and it's a very sudden thing and you're like in this weird sudden pain. So injured myself during that sparring session. It was fine. I was fine for my fight, healed and everything else. But the kids are watching me spar, see me get injured. My son had been videoing the sparring. My daughter saw the injury. My son drops the camera. My daughter goes and gets my water bottle. They both jump in the ring. They're helping me get my gloves. Like they're taking this like champs. Like it's like that. It happens. No big deal. So for my fight in 2016, I fought at a weight that I felt strong at, and the kids got to see me fight. They actually walked me out to the ring.
Oh, that's cool.
So my boxing nickname is Princess Killer. And my daughter dressed as a princess and my son dressed as the Grim Reaper. They walked me out to the ring.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they're like 9 and 11 at this point. So then, after that fight, which again, it was an exhibition, but by all accounts, I dominated the fight. I think the other thing that Boxing Ontario needs to do is when they have exhibition fights in like little community places like that, they need to explain better to spectators that this is an exhibition and no winner will be called.
Definitely.
When they raised both our hands, the spectators were mad. Like, wow. Because they didn't understand that it was going to be called a draw regardless of what happened, right? So the reason for that 2016 fight at a weight I feel strong at. I will fight a third time so my kids can see me fight. Oh, but my kids saw me fight for this one. Do I need to fight again?
I you know what? The way you talk about it and the passion that you have, you do need to do it again. Do it again. I can hear it in your voice. You're getting amped up. You just want to. It's like you want to get in there right now to start throwing the fists, right? It's once you've been bit by that bug, it doesn't matter how old you get. You'll always want to do it. Like look at Mike Tyson. The guy just stepped in the ring again at 53 years old. Why? Because he has that love for it. And you have the same.
Also, like I'm not Tyson. I'm not Mike
Hey,
Tyson.
I'm not Tyson either. Pam's not Tyson by any means. That's for sure. But you know what? Once you get bit by that bug, it's hard to get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
But at least you have the Underdogs Boxing Club, which you train at there and provide people with the knowledge that you've gained, and it's awesome. It's great that you can do that.
Yeah, and we don't train fighters there
Right.
per se. Like I've said to people, no, we don't train fighters, but we do coach. We coach proper boxing technique. We're a no contact club, so when I tell them to keep their hands up, I've actually joked with them. I'm like, you all need to go to a traditional boxing club where if you don't keep your hands up, they'll smack you in the head, right?
Oh yeah.
Only takes a couple times then before you learn to keep your hands up. But because there's no contact, I don't smack anybody in the head. Right? I'm trying to coach them to keep their hands up and all this stuff. And there was one woman one time, so I'm trying to fix her technique, and she's in her 60s. Our oldest member is 69. Our oldest active member is 69. And then we have a youth program as well. So we range from 10 years old to 69 years old.
Wow. That's it.
Mostly women, but we've got some boys in the youth program, and we've got some men in the adult program as well. We're fully inclusive of everyone,
Right.
except racists and misogynists, and we don't accept them.
Everything on the other side of the tracks.
But anyway, so I was trying to correct her technique, and she stepped back from her bag and looked at me and said, "Laura, I'm never going to get into the ring." Like, yeah, no, I know. Like, you're right, you're not going to. However, I also would like you to not break your wrist. Like, right?
Let's do it right, Grandma.
Yeah. So, but I've got some youth members who are interested in fighting at some point, and they're girls. And I've said to them, some of the boxing clubs around here, I don't feel like they approach it in the safest manner. Some of them will throw you in the ring to spar. You very
see what you got to kind of see what you got. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of like that. The gatekeeper. There's always that gatekeeper of the gym, and
yeah.
you know, they're gonna put time into you, and you're gonna get in the ring. They want to see what you have right off the hop, and they're gonna put you in there. And if you get your butt kicked, you get your butt kicked, and it's just
yeah. And I just don't feel like it's the safest thing
no,
to do, right? So I've said to these girls, I'm like, okay, I will coach you, you know, the fundamentals and everything else, but there's going to come a point where we're going to have to see if you can take a punch in the face. I'm going to have to be the one who
punch you in the face.
The punch in the face.
That's good.
You know, but then when they've reached the point where they're comfortable going into that boxing club, you know, and we know that, you know, taking a punch in the face is not going to just stop them cold and they're never going to go back, that sort of thing. Then I can leave it to the clubs that train fighters to bring them up to the level that, you know, they need, to actually get the ring. I've got one girl who has said, when I get in the ring, will you be in my corner? And I'm like, I will be in your corner, but you need to make sure you have someone with a lot more fight experience in your corner. Like, I know my limitations, right? Like, it doesn't matter how good or not people think I did when I was in the ring. I've had 2 fights.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the credentials to be coaching someone to get in the ring.
Right. Graham, do you have any questions you want to ask? Sorry, man, you've just been sitting there silent, and
you guys having a great conversation. Yeah. My only question would be whether your son and daughter actually are now boxers.
So my son has this weird knack for like anything physical. Like, he just picks it up and is just so good at it, but he's not interested.
I'm sure he does this though.
Yeah, well,
they all do that
on his computer, right? So he's a super active kid. It's just that boxing is not his sport, which, I mean, everybody has their own thing. My daughter did it for quite a while, and is sort of, you know, comes in and out. Right, I'm like, they're 13 now, right?
Yeah.
A 13-year-old, and a 15-year-old. So we're at that stage where it's like, meh, like life is. I mean, they're awake right now. That's
right? That's a good thing.
Yeah. But like, we're at the stage where, especially during a pandemic, it's sleep until noon. Like,
yes, I know that one very well.
Yeah. So, but my daughter and a friend, they come to the club once a week, and I just do like a private training session. When we're not in lockdown, right? I do a private training session with the 2 of them, and just sort of keep them both active and engaged. They both think it's super cool that I opened a boxing club. You know, every now and then when things get rough, I go, "Why did you guys let me do this?" And, they go, "Because it's cool." So like they're super supportive of it, and I think they like being able to tell their friends that like their mom opened a boxing club.
Yeah, that's definitely
right.
That's a bonus.
Yeah.
Don't make me get my mom in here. She opened a boxing club.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because as a politician now, so I sit on regional council now as a politician, and actually, Graham, your friend, Captain Swallow mentioned this at one point. So I take some abuse online as a politician, and every now and then he'll jump in and go, do they not know? Right. Because I don't just go around punching people.
That's great. That is so great.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Graham, you have any more questions?
No, I'm really happy that you came on board and gave us that wonderful story. It's a great story. And I really hope that it transcends and affects other people in the same way. Because we've been proponents not only of boxing, the art of boxing, but its impact on people and communities.
Yeah.
And you're living proof of what it can do for a community.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's a huge, I mean, this second lockdown, I had members saying to me, whatever you need us to do to make sure this place stays open, we will do it. Like, it's such a benefit to people's mental health. Never mind the physical health aspects. It's the mental health. It's the stress relief. It's the, reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety and all of those things. And it's the camaraderie of the boxing club, right? Like that everybody's welcome. And
there's something about it. I don't know. It's hard to put any kind of name or any label on it. It's just when you stand in a ring and trade punches with another person, and you do it on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, there's that bond is hard to break. That camaraderie is it's something far beyond anything else. I guess it would be the same thing as going to war with your war buddies, right? And it's hard to match. And those friendships, man, they last forever. Like I have people that I haven't talked to in 10 years, but the minute I see them, it's like it never stopped. And it's just because of that camaraderie that I made in those gyms, man. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Graham, I don't know.
Take us out with our triple combo. And
all right. To all our viewers out there, again, Laura, thank you for coming on. It was great having you. We'll definitely love to have you on again in the future. And to all our people out there, remember, jab that like button, hook subscribe, and knock out some comments. Knuckle up, baby.
Thanks very much, Laura. Really appreciate that. And have fun. It sounds like a great time down there.
Yeah.
See you, Laura. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.